Hello everyone and welcome to another Europa Universalis 5 Developer Diary Tinto Talk Doodad. And we have finally some new art, which is, it feels very reminiscent of just the HRE and how it plays in the game, right? You've got your exceptionally smug Bohemian king while Brandenburg and Bavaria fight and squabble, and the Bohemians are like, I don't care, I got gold. I just found it quite funny. But before we get into the dev diary, which is all about some extra stuff and content, etc., that is coming to the ROSSBACH patch, I just want to quickly address the elephant in the room, and that is everyone's having a whinge and a complain about the player numbers, and I just wanted to, I don't have like an extensive opinion about this, but I feel like I should just like mention it. And my thought is initially that at least for me, I have a thing where anytime that we got a DLC announcement or announcements of new stuff coming to the game, even for it, if it was EU4 or CK2 back in the day, we had announcements about what was coming in the next update, and that would make me less willing or less excited to play the current update, because like, oh, I'm playing it, but I don't have all these shiny new toys that we've just been showed. I call that the paradox. It's obviously not a paradox, but I feel like that's a part of it. All the stuff that's coming in ROSSBACH looks great, and therefore people maybe, I don't think it's the whole story, but there might be a subset of people who are, oh, we'll just wait for ROSSBACH. I want to get back into the game, but I'll wait for ROSSBACH because all the things coming in ROSSBACH look great. At least for me, they look great. I know that some things have been somewhat controversial, let's say. I don't think that's the whole story. I do think EU5 is going to be, the long haul game. I don't think they are going to imperator it. I don't think that the player count is necessarily completely screwed. Obviously, we have the graphs obviously showing EU4 and EU5, and when EU5 came out, EU4's numbers dropped, and they may have slightly started to go back up a little bit, but not as much as what it was at the start. What do I think the future trajectory of this green line is going to be? I think it's going to level out, and I think as time goes on and more patches are added, more and EU5 kind of finds its identity with the community, then I think it's going to slowly rise, like we saw, maybe not as much with Hearts of Iron 4, but rise over time. I think another big part of it is EU5 is pretty heavy on people's computers, right? People who've played EU4 for 10 years have been able to play EU4 for 10 years because EU4 was made with hardware designed 10 years ago, or 12, 15 years ago, and that was like the era of hardware. EU5 is 10 years more advancements in computer hardware, so it taxes more, and if people didn't upgrade their computers in the past while because they didn't need to, because they've been playing a 10-year-old game, they're gonna struggle a little bit more with EU5, which has higher demands. If EU5 lasts for 10, 12 years before it needs to be, replaced by EU6, the hardware that is, invented and updated and upgraded over those next 10 years is going to make it easier and easier for people to play EU5. Maybe that's also part of it. Anyway, I just wanted to have a quick little comment on this because it like I say, there's a lot of Reddit posts and forum posts and all of that about the player count, and there's some doom and gloom. There's some honestly some celebrations as well, and I don't know. I find it all quite needless. Anyway, we are going to go and have a look at the dev diary, and we've got Pavia back. Been a while. Content design lead at E5. Some of you might know him from the Tinto Map series. Pavia, we could never forget you. Also, a host of a bunch of Tinto Talks. Been a while since the last time, back in October. The past 3 months have been quite busy on their end, I guess. I would assume so. I would hope so. Today they're going to talk about what they've been doing during the period of time, and he's going to present us with content and adjustments that they've been working on for ROSSBACH and plans for 2026. So, from patches 102 to 1010, the main focus of the content design team after the release of EU5 on the 4th of November was bug fixing. For the patches 102 to 110, we averaged around 150 to 200 content fixes per patch. The way they organized the work, as Johan mentioned back in time, was creating a custodian team to upkeep the base game, which later on was subdivided into 2 additional subteams, one for hot fixes and another for cold fixes. Those are fixes that are planned for future patches. Okay. And we're going to get some examples of that for 1.1. Although the subteams are usually quite small, the organization gave them a lot of flexibility, as they can move developers between the different development tracks depending on the necessities of the game without much overhead, while making sure they're able to upkeep the base game and develop new content, something that is handled by a third subteam. One example of this is the new advances that are added for some formable countries during December, which we have some like the one for Austria, for example, the one that comes to mind immediately. Some others, if you are 2 Sicilies, then you can get capable vicars, cabinet member cost, and estate power for cabinet position. It's an okay advance. Age 3, though, is a little late, maybe. Status by merit for Aztecs, giving monthly army tradition, noble estate satisfaction recovery. Niamnian, I nailed that pronunciation. Cav maintenance cost for Manchu. Okay, that's really useful for them. Legacy of Kurdish dynasties. You need to be playing Kurdistan, and you get some legitimacy. Expansion for Sokoto, obviously for Sokoto. Religious War CB, unlocked by that, and some pop conversion speed. And continuation of the Renaissance for someone playing as Italy, giving cultural tradition and influence. Nice. Anyway, patch 1.1. Content for ROSSBACH. As the name of the update implies, they focus a lot of their work on the German region, especially on countries such as Brandenburg and Prussia, which is useful because Brandenburg is one of the most played and favored and enjoyed countries in EU4, and in EU5, it's cope and awful. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like all the content hints that we've gotten about Brandenburg up until now for ROSSBACH have been like, oh yeah, we added another disaster. We made it harder. We made it more cope. Hopefully it's a replacement maybe for the robber barons bollocks. I don't know. Aims to handle the content concerning the Wittelsbacher neglect, false Voldemar, and the robber barons event chains in a more cohesive way. They also added 6 new additional events for it. So, turmoil in Brandenburg. Okay, so is it basically going to remove these and then add this instead, which, you know, it has them all together? That might work. That might be a bit easier. Not easier, but might be a bit more fun, let's say. So we got the turmoil in Brandenburg disaster. Max control -10. I mean, that's what the robber barons gave as well, right? Control per month goes down, monthly legitimacy as well. The von Wittelsbachs of Brandenburg. With the death of the last member of the Ascania of Brandenburg, Elector Henrik in 1320, Brandenburgian lands fell in the hands of the Holy Roman Emperor, the elected emperor of the HRE. In order to keep the northern German territory administered, the Holy Roman Emperor assigned the Brandenburgian March to his son. This is the start of the von Wittelsbach era of Brandenburg. Time of troubles, as the elector was placed as ruler at a young age, leaving much of the government in the hands of Count Berthold. So, we have a disaster instead, right? How do we get out of it? Wittelsbacher investment of a value of 100 or less. Wittelsbacher neglect a value of -100 or less. Okay, so just get out of that, and you need to also deal with the robber baron issues. Those, I believe, were the end requirements, and we have, we have a disaster, which is always a nice thing. Well, not really. Having disasters kind of cope, but, whatever. They've also added the following content for German countries. 2 new advances for the German culture group with 2 new buildings. Unique advances, 1 for Hesse, 2 for Cologne, 6 for Palatinate, 1 for Trier, 2 for the Hanseatic countries of Hansa, Hamburg, Lübeck, Bremen, and Rostock. Nice. 6 new advances that unlock policies for chivalric order law, creating some new German chivalric orders. Nice. And 2 new events, 1 for Switzerland, creating the Codex Manesse work of art, and 1 for Trier, creating the Codex Balduini Treverensis. Okay. I think this is one of the new buildings, a river toll castle. I imagine this needs to be built on a river. Gives possible nobles and market protection. It's a castle. Like, is there not even any garrison size? Okay, never mind then. We also have the Mountain Toll Castle, possible nobles and trade advantage there as well. Professional Army Corps, this one for Hesse, manpower and army morale, that's actually really, really good. Palatine Line gives monthly legitimacy, and protect the Bibliotheca Palatina, monthly research progress and cultural influence, quite nice. Balance the Landstände is Parliament base support, that's really, really nice actually. Orders of Chivalry. Oh, there is a lot of new orders that can be made. That's really cool. They've added the following generic and unique units in this update as well. So we have Saxon Defensionaire, Hesse Jägers, some Rhine-Franconian culture units. We have Prussian Grenadiers, Bavarian Jägers. In the Age of Revolutions, they all get Grenadiers, Pander Infantry, Grenhussar, and Grenzer Infantry. That's really, really cool. That's really, really cool. 8 new gods for Tengri. Death Dealer God +1 attrition. This is the Death Dealer God. I hate the Death Dealer God. New achievements. Oh, okay. I was not expecting some of these. So, look. Adding new achievements is all well and good, but you need to fix Hongwu D. You need to fix Hongwu D, like, because Hongwu D is still broken. Okay, so Saladin's legacy status bids either you or your subjects own Egypt and Hejaz, North Yemen, South Yemen, Levant, and Jazeera areas. bids are like a unique location minor, so that's a rough one. Status Kilwa own a market center in Africa with the highest market value in the world. Okay, interesting. Have all hegemonies. I'm surprised that wasn't a achievement already, to be fair. Starting as a county, obtain the rank of Empire, excluding being the HRE Emperor. That's gonna be a situation where I want to be not a Catholic. Honestly, you could probably do this one and Saladin's Legacy at the same time. That might be what I do. As pressure, I have over 50 quality and offensive. It's pretty easy, actually. I'll be Wittelsbach. I hate that. Okay, Status Brandenburg, overcome turmoil in Brandenburg disaster with a Wittelsbacher investment score of 100 and a Wittelsbacher ruler on the throne. And then Reformatio Imperii, as the HRE Emperor, have the perpetual diet, Ewige Landfriede, and direct taxation policies enacted. Cool. I quite like that. I'm mostly excited for maybe Saladin's Legacy. Looks like a very Cope to Conqueror campaign. So looking forward to trying that one. Wittelsbach and Goose Step by Step. These go together, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with those. We'll get them. Made around 200 content fixes and tweaks for ROSSBACH. These are the most meaningful ones in their opinion. So Manchurian setup has been worked on. Dozens of countries in Manchuria. All right. New Mongolia formable country. Look, more formables. All of the formables should be in. All of them, because the formables are fun. Character trees to these people. Added some new dynasties there. Haichi and Herga cultures. Removed the Nani and Solon cultures. Corrected Josheli to Josheri. Okay. Made pop changes in Manchuria according to feedback and reviewed the harbor setup in China as well. So there is a bunch of changes to the map. And there's also some new IOs, some confederations there. The Swiss are not Jurchen as far as they're aware, but they appear in the list with other confederations when looking for them. I mean, that's fair enough. And there are the new cultures as well. Okay, fair enough. And the harbor map mode as well. All right. Food and tools in the Andes and Mesoamerica. Important concern for players. It's taken some time to get all the changes that they wanted and to be able to adjust them with the economic rework for 1.1. They've added market village building to many Mesoamerican and Andean rural capitals, terrace building to Andean towns and cities, tools guild to Mesoamerican and Andean towns, 2 new copper-based production methods for the tools guild. So we have copper toolmakers, and for the jewelry guild, copper-based jewelry. And then they have thanked Negative Ramos for their work on the Mesoamerican Copper Tools mod, which helped them nail down the rework. That's cool. I actually really like that they gave a shout out. And they've added more stone, copper, and lumber for Mesoamerica. Situations. They've worked very intensively towards improving the existing situations, fixing bugs, making tweaks. These are the most meaningful changes in some selected situations, which doesn't mind that they haven't been working on others. As you'll see in the full patch notes, that this is the most relevant work. So for the 100 Years' War, they've corrected an issue that made subjects of the backstabber country not leave the war after their overlord used the Betray Our Alliance action. Okay. Create an issue for the 100 Years' War made the AI doubt its own shifting allegiance after triggering Betray Our Alliance. 100 Years' War action influenced French subject can no longer be performed during a war. And fixed an issue that allowed appanages to be called to wars by France despite the former having the appanage prevented from calling war modifier. Okay. Crisis of the Chinese dynasty will no longer fire during the first 2 ages to avoid interference with Red Turban Rebellion. Diplomatic interaction to demand annexation of Red Turban rebel countries. Rebels will now have 1 additional cabinet seat and an extra cabinet seat to the Emperor of the Middle Kingdom. All right. Hussite Wars, there's a lot here, actually. I felt Hussite Wars was handled relatively well. Having gone through it twice now, I wasn't too unhappy with it. Adding a unit action for the Catholics during the Hussite Wars, Hussite Tribunal, which will convert some Hussites back to Catholicism and eradicate some. Action can be done once the provincial capital is held by a Catholic enemy of Bohemia during their ongoing war. That's rough for Bohemia. That means you have to button down the hatches even harder. The Crush Hussitism decision now allows you to release areas from Bohemia. Okay. Fix an issue with the Join Hussite side situation action, which accidentally checked for not having a truce with Bohemia. The action Join the Pope and Hussites will attract more countries of Catholic and Hussite faith each, basing on how badly their faith is losing the ongoing war. So Catholics are more likely to help the Pope if he's losing. Okay, interesting. The situation Join the Papal side now requires the actor to have greater than 0 opinion towards the Pope. Join the Pope no longer checks for the actor country not being allied to the side whose button they're evaluating, so Join the Papal side action will be allowed for countries that are allied to the Pope. Okay. Join the Pope Hussites no longer checks for Bohemia being a member of the HRE, as that's not needed. The peace treaty suppress Hussitism no longer costs between 50 and 100, and now costs 25 to 50. Decrease the duration of the Hussite Wars situation. Action-related modifiers promoted on moderates and radicals from 10 to 3 years. All right. Increase the cooldown of Hussite Wars action. Align with the moderates and radicals from 1 to 3. Change the cooldown. Prepare the defensive from 1 to 5. Common enemy now occurs fewer times during the situation. Demand donation now has a cooldown of 5 years. It was 1. And now actions available to Hussite Bohemia during the Hussite Wars are now available to Bohemia, even if they are not Hussite, as long as they're not Catholic. I mean, so become what, Lutheran? Like, wait. This feels like throwing people a bone who like, oh, I'm just going to become Orthodox for the memes. Yeah, whatever. Nambokjuko and Sengoku Jidai, hopefully it just works now. It was completely broken last time I tried it. Add an event to avoid Nambokjuko, resulting in entrenched stalemate without ending. Improved tooltip of expanded clan influence peace treaty. Expanded the gain clan autonomy peace treaty to be able to be used against other clans, not just against the shogun. And reworked the logic of how Japanese clans get landed during Sengoku. Okay, huge. Huge. Now the clan with the most buildings in a location will get that location. Absolutely huge. This actually means that Japan is playable again. Added declare conquest ambition action for the Timurids during the rise of Timur. This action will make you choose an adjacent region as your desired region of conquest, which means that the plan invasion action will declare an immediate war against countries in that region, as well as countries with their capital in your home region, instead of just creating a CB. Additionally, declaring war against any country in the designated region will now give a penalty to all location in the regions owned by enemies, which makes the occupation of these locations significantly easier for Timur. Effect can only apply as long as Timur is alive, however, and then historical AI will prioritize Persia. Okay, so less Timurids going ham through Golden Horde. Okay, that's actually much better. Schism fixes. Question Cardinal is now much cheaper during the Western Schism. Being on the losing side of the Schism will now remove your Cardinal seats. added a new parliament issue, foster religious relations for countries with a religion which use religious influence. Okay. Council of Trent now determines the success not by how many debates were successful or not, but how by the traits of the policies after the debates compared to before. So even if a bunch of debates failed, if the doctrines are what the Protestants wished, then the situation ends with Catholics and Protestants religions seeing each other as kindred. All right. Well, this was completely fucked. So hopefully this is now better. Disasters. Decline of Empire disaster now uses complacency and is available to all countries with high complacency. It's renamed to Complacent Decline and hosts 2 new actions, 3 new events. Other complacent disasters like the dissolution of Delhi, decline of Mali, and decline of Majapahit. Yuan and the Mamluks now start with 25 and 15 complacency each. Okay. How much does Delhi start with? How much does Majapahit start with? How much does Mali start with? Those are they all gonna be 0? And now the HRE, which is good if this gets fixed because the HRE now has a frickin' achievement. So, it's the most complex IO they have, so they put a lot of effort into making further fixes and improvements to it. It's also very dependent on AI behavior, which makes it quite a challenge for them. Nonetheless, they've done the following and keep working on it, following the feedback they received during the open beta, which is when, hopefully, we're going to get some news on this at the end of the dev diary. The HRE now requires the ruler or heir to be of the imperial religion before you become eligible to be elected as the next emperor. Fix the tooltip of the demand on lawful and territory imperial elections, so it now shows that only targeting provinces with conquered locations instead of provinces with non-cores. The HRE AI will no longer declare no CB with it. The HRE good. And the enforced religious unity country interaction now gives the imperial authority directly in the action itself instead of triggering an event for it. HRE gains minus 0.5 monthly imperial authority penalty if the emperor is in an offensive war against another member of the HRE. Only applies to the enemy war leader, which means the HRE members which just join an ally against the emperor will not trigger the penalty. Fair. Remember, there's a HRE declaring no CP awards within the HRE now has a plus 100% cost penalty, and it was plus 75. This is, I guess, for players only because the AI won't do it. For outside of the HRE taking land within the HRE, now has more antagonism, even more. It was plus 100, now it's plus 200. If you are in the HRE, taking land in the HRE now is 125%, it was 75. They have more potential tweaks for the HRE in the pipeline for the first update of the 1.1 open beta, but they require some more time for testing. They're leaning towards reading opinions after the open beta is released in order to account for feedback. So, other tweaks. Banking countries. Most people, I think, or at least I did, completely forgot that these existed. They are AI to interact with, potentially, on occasion, when they join a coalition against you. But otherwise, just nothing, really. Limited takeover loan action to banking countries. Okay, so Florence just got fucked. Florence just got absolutely... Isn't that is takeover loan is the one where they still have to pay you the interest that Florence got as an advance? Maybe Florence can still do it. I don't know. An event for the creation of CNE's Monte dei Paschi Bank. Okay, so another bank being added. Event for creating Genoese Bank of St. George and reorganizing existing content around it, and added the Acciaioli Bank in setup. All right. Acciaioli and Caracciaioli as possible revolters of the city. It's based. We're getting the sheep back. Fantastic. Reorganized areas of South America, created the Mato Grosso area and placed the Paraguay area correctly. Fused the Pindorama and Janeiro areas. All right. Cool. There's some other tweaks there. All right, so 2026, what are we gonna get? We have 2 main goals in the content design team. On the one hand, keep improving the quality of the base game with more fixes and improvements, while adding additional free content in the base game patches. In this regard, they think 1.1 ROSSBACH gives a good idea of what to expect from now on, and what our main field of work is. In the regard, short-term and mid-term, one of our sub-teams will keep working on fixes for 1.1 open beta, while another sub-team has already started working on further setup tweaks for the 1.2 patch, as that's part of the content design that requires more time, as they'll know if they followed Tinder Map series. On the other hand, they've already started working on new content for the first DLC, The Fate of the Phoenix. It's too soon to start talking about it, just wanted to know that they're already on top of it, especially for the player who acquired the premium edition of EU5. Fair enough. By the time they're reading this, he's going to be playing the internal dev MP, then have weekly brainstorming sessions, so availability will be limited. He'll try and put in replies as much as possible. And Friday, there'll be an additional Tinto Talks talking about art for 1.1. Okay, so no open beta news, which is unfortunate. Let us see if there are any dev comments. There's a couple. All right. So, while on the topic of disasters, have you considered making the War of the Roses a more frequent disaster to fire? Yes, they are. Fantastic. They're actively looking to fixes for it in 1.1. It doesn't fire as often as they'd like. OPB said, would it be possible to discuss whether these changes are producing the expected behavior? Are you happy with the situations are after the changes, or do you think more needs to be done to make them functioning properly in most playthroughs? So Pavi is saying that they think that they're leaning towards what they want them to achieve in general terms. They're happy with the changes, but they think there's more work to be done in the coming months, and to not make this an empty statement, be more precise about some of the changes they face. It's important for content such as situations to have a stable AI behavior which aligns with player expectations and allows us to better fine-tune scripted content into general AI behavior. Something they've recently done in the internal development pipeline is to create strike teams with a QA, CD, and a programmer and do joint work towards that goal. All right, that's an interesting way of doing things. On a related note, got the impression from Yuan's post that you could not use naval governors on other continents. They're for places like Maria if you're playing as Venice. Okay. Will lieutenancy and viceroy buildings be made available to non-Iberian countries? I would love that, actually. Buildings essentially give access to a different way of playing a colonial empire. It would be nice. On the first topic, they want to get player feedback on the proximity loop, especially the new local and naval governors, before further adjustments to unique content, such as lieutenancies and viceroys, telling you on some of my personal radar of things to check after they're happy with the rework. And on the second note, back to the naval governors thingamabob. Balance of core gameplay mechanics, such as naval governors, is on Yuan. Fair. Yeah, so next week, okay, there we go. Next week is when we're going to get the open beta. That was a chunky dev diary. That was an chunky dev diary, for sure. Things I'm mostly excited about is the HRE being fixed, Japan being fixed. I want to play my Shimazu game. I want to finally get my Shimazu game going. So the Nanbok Juko, I can't pronounce that word, Jedi, Sengoku Jedi, those being fixed is very exciting to me. But yeah, I want to know what you guys are looking at in this dev diary and thinking, yes, this is specifically the thing that I was waiting for. And are you one of the people who has dropped off EU5? And is ROSSBACH something that is going to bring you back to the game? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And I will see you guys on Friday for another dev diary. But yeah, until then, toodaloo, bye-bye.